guys, I'm going to show you how to do the background and cast shadow in oil pastels, and you'll use this process for when you do your fruit project. But for now, we'll just practice, and we'll just do it with a regular sphere. So you guys have this little handout, and the instructions are right there. But these can get a little confusing, so I'm going to show you how to do them step by step. So I'm just going to do mine on this extra little piece of paper because I had been playing around and made this sphere earlier. So first step right here. So I have my sphere. I chose to make it blue and I shaded it and I highlighted it. And the first step is to draw a horizon line behind your object. So that's easy. Just going to go back here and draw a little horizon line. Okay, and now it looks a little bit more like my sphere is actually sitting on a table. And this would be like the wall, and this would be the table. The next thing to do is to color in a light layer on the table. So you get to choose whatever color you want, but I'm guessing that many of you would think to color the top of the table brown. So I'm actually going to go in over everything just very lightly. Start to color in the table, and I could still see where my cast shadow is going to go. I still see the outline. Okay. Now, next step, I'm going to use black to lightly color in a little bit of the cast shadow on the table. So here's my black, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of black on there so I can see the cast shadow. Okay, just a little bit. Okay, and what I'll do is the next step. So here's where you have to think. Add some of the color of your object into the cast shadow. For example, if you had a red cherry, add some red into the cast shadow. Well, I have this blue sphere, and I used this blue the other day to color it in. So I'm going to add some of that blue into the cast shadow. And the reason I do this is because color is reflected light. And there we go. And light bounces off of objects and off of the surfaces of stuff. And so the color of the object will also get reflected onto the table and into that cast shadow. All right, so there we go. So I added some of the blue of the object into the cast shadow. Now we're going to finish the table by coloring it in with a chosen color, and I'm going to color over the cast shadow too so that it blends into the cast shadow onto the table. So I'm going to use my brown, and I want a light brown, so I'm going to use brown and probably some of this peach color. Okay, and again, I'm going to color over everything, and I'm even going to go into that cast shadow and color into that cast shadow because that cast shadow blends with the color of the table too. So there's some nice brown in there, and then I want to lighten it up. I don't want too dark looking of a table. And I'll slow down when I get to the cast shadow. Be a little more careful. Okay. All right, and I'm going to clean mine off real quick. There you go. I'll clean off my little oil pastel, and I'm going to finish off the rest of the table. Okay. And I'm going a little faster because I don't want to bore you with this video. But there it is. And if I want to darken anything, like maybe I want the cast shadow to look a little darker, I can do that. I can go back on top and add a little more, and I can even add a little more blue in there if I want, just to define it a little bit more. Usually a cast shadow is a little darker next to the object it sits on, and then like it fades away a little bit. Okay, so this is very good. Now, the only thing that's missing is the wall in the back. So my one recommendation for you, what you could choose pretty much whatever color you want to do in the back wall. But my recommendation is just don't use a plain raw color, okay? We've learned so much about mixing colors that if you go to use a plain color just like that, it kind of looks boring and basic. So I'm just going to recommend that you mix some colors together. So I will do orange, and then I'll like lighten it up with some peach. And there's nothing crazy I'm going to do. I'm just going to color this in so that now we have a wall behind the ball. And again, don't use just one color and push really hard and color it on, because then it's going to look a little boring and basic. I'm going to layer my colors so it looks a little more interesting than just plain orange. Okay, and that's pretty much that. And this is the method you'll use for doing your background and your cast shadow on your fruit project. So hope you learned a lot. Good luck.